comes to the film, you people, I have to be truly honest, I was a bit disappointed by this film, but let's start with the good things first. Now, I believe the first half of this film is really funny. I think Jonah Hill and Eddie Murphy do an exceptional job comedy-wise. When it comes to David Duchovny, he had his moments, even though he wasn't the most comedic in this film, the moments he had were truly hilarious. Given that this film majority has comedic actors, it was quite interesting to see them somewhat dive deep into the dramatic roles, which I think they did a really great job at. The soundtrack of the film, again for the first half, really added to the atmosphere. It was really nice to listen to, and the editing I think was very interesting, as when it's showing different locations be very different and unique at the same time. So those are the only positives I can really think of this film, as for the first half there is a lot of good humour, but it's mainly held by Jonah Hill and Eddie Murphy, and even that fades away, and it's a shame that they're the only two funny characters. I feel like the secondary main character, being Amira, really should have had some funny dialogue or moments, but she didn't, at least in my eyes. And yes, she was a bit serious and she had a point to make throughout the film. I really feel like if they added some more comedy dialogue to her or give her some comedic moments, she would have been a way more enjoyable character. But alas, this film excels at making the audience feel uncomfortable, as we're seeing into somewhat modern times of mid-50s white people, and how they mean well but they somewhat say tone-deaf racist comments towards black people. They're more having conversations to them not as if they were human but as if they were a black person. It really becomes infuriating to the point of the enjoyment has dissipated from this film. Now, they don't just do that with white people, they also make the African American characters very serious characters who, if anything, take the smallest remarks and make them into a big argument. For example, both Ezra and Amira decide to get their families together, somewhat a way to meet. And through this we see not the greatest start, but during the dinner they're having a conversation and she brings up that Ezra and her family own a boat and they should go on it. Now Akbar, somewhat joking, says maybe we should hold off on that, as there's a history between black people and boats and water. And we see that Sherry, adding to the joke, says somewhat like Jews and trains, sort of making light of what is a horrific situation on from her end, same way Akbar was doing on his end. But the problem is Akbar takes offence to this. He believes that she is not joking, but she's making a comparison between Jewish people and black people and their suffering, which I didn't see as the case, and it just made scenes so much more awkward because of that. Whilst Sherry, Ezra's mother, does make some comments that borders on racism, and she isn't very great at reading the room when she's having these conversations, she at least is trying to have a bond with the family and or the daughter-in-law, whilst Akbar, on the other hand, simply just doesn't even try to bond with him. He just makes a judgment call on Ezra and his entire family. And whilst I understand they're trying to shine a light onto modern day people and somewhat show how both races come off to one another, I felt like they could have been a bit more subtle in a way and add more comedic value to it, rather than making it just more uncomfortable for both sides to watch. I feel like the romance in this film started off very good, but I felt like it faded away as the conversation of social commentary came up, and it only returns towards near the end in a very cliched way. I thought the ending was very cliched, but also felt very rushed at the same time, as we're seeing characters who have had little time to grow. We don't really see their growth. All of a sudden are apologising and know the error of their ways. Honestly, it's a film that tried to be so much more. It tried to be a comedy, it tried to be a rom-com, and it tried to be a film about social commentary. It felt like it was trying to blend all of it together, and I don't think it really worked, at least in my eyes. So overall, it's a comedy film which had a good start, had good acting from comedic actors, but it was too dramatic for a comedy, and I felt that it was trying to mix in so many genres to be special, but if anything it comes off less than special and even barely memorable, if I'm being completely honest. So is it good? Sadly it's not. Rating wise, I'll give it a 4.5 out of 10. On to recommendations. Jonah Hill is a great comedic actor in films such as Superbad, which is the first film I've ever seen of his. He was brilliant in both 21 and 22 Jump Street. The second of one has a scene which very similar but far superior than a scene in this film where he is meeting the girlfriend's parents. He was also a great, funny and useful asset into the film This Is the End, and he had a very funny but small cameo in the film 40-Year-Old Virgin. Definitely check this out. Now, it's not just comedy he has put his foot in, he's also dabbled in drama with films such as Wolf of Wall Street, which was hysterical and he was a great actor in that, but also in the film War Dogs, very good. Now, when it comes to Eddie Murphy, he is well known, and whilst I haven't seen much of his material, I definitely recommend Delirious and Raw. I think they're great stand-up specials. Admittedly, there are 2 long diatribe scenes in each of the stand-ups that go on to the point that it's not really funny, but there's also a great amount of moments in the stand-up specials, so check those out. It was also funny in the film Coming to America, the original one, and it also has a fuck ton of cast members who would later become really big stars. And then we have David Duchovny, who I think is amazing, and I recommend watching X-Files, as whilst he has the comedy aspect, he can also bring the drama as well. And then Californication, another TV show in which comedy is his main ingredient, but he's not shy to show his dramatic side as well. And then last but not least is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who, as we all know, is from Seinfeld, and fair play, definitely go check that out. But I think she was even funnier in the TV show Curb Your Enthusiasm, even though I don't think she appears in much as a particular season, which is following her. Larry David's trying to pitch a new show to get on TV to break the Seinfeld curse. Definitely go check that out, check the whole show out as well. Okay, those are my recommendations. This has been my review. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and have a good day.